Calaroga Shark Media.
We found out how Marcello Hernandez likes his pizza. Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news. We are poolside once again with the generator guy, the dogs, the cicadas, the planes, the landscapers, the whole bit. It is summertime. And I just looked at the calendar and I was like, oh, it's the 30th. That means July 4th is coming up. I got to plan a holiday. And then I'm like, oh no, it's almost August, not almost July. I always confuse June and July in my small brain. Marcello Hernandez apparently likes a plain slice. He was hanging out with Tracy Morgan. This is actually from about a month ago. I just caught it. They did a conversation piece for Variety, and Tracy Morgan said, I like you already, man. You regular. No extra cheese, no pepperoni, just a slice and a Coke. They bonded over some of Tracy Morgan's work on Def Jam. Tracy Morgan said, my wife is Dominican. Marcello Hernandez said, I know. I met her earlier. We spoke Spanish. Tracy said, I was so happy when you got on the show, meaning SNL. I was there many years before you, but if I was with you, it would have been me and you. You're basically me on the show. Hernandez said, I think about that a lot. The people that I look up into in comedy, I wish we were in school together. Now, this is where the controversial Tracy Morgan comment from a month ago came from. So the conversation turned to schooling and getting in trouble in school. And Tracy Morgan said, and this is just stupid. Tracy Morgan said, I can't stand teachers. You know why? Because they have a ceiling. They have a limit. That's all they're ever going to be. Dude, come on, man. No, that's not cool. They talked about the SNL 50th season. Marcello said, I didn't know how to talk to Eddie Murphy because I always wanted to be physical like him. I was nervous, and I saw the sneakers he was wearing, and I was like, oh, I have those. And then he looked at me and said, you got them because they look cool. I got them because they support my body. How do you even respond to that? Oh, boy. Tracy Morgan said, people love characters. Domingo is a favorite. But I want you to go to the Weekend Update desk, and I don't want you to wear a mustache or anything. Use your regular name. That's what Eddie told me, because you don't want people going through the airport for the next 20 years and people calling you Domingo. I got news for Tracy Morgan and Marcello Hernandez. When I go to the airport, they go, hey, Tracy. Eddie showed me how to be a household name. Do your characters, that's great, but when you do update, do you. Tracy asked, what was the very first thing you ever did on SNL? Marcello Hernandez said, the thing about how it's more fun to watch Latino baseball players than the white dudes. It was like, who would you rather watch play baseball? Kyle from Kentucky or the guy they call Papa and no one knows why? When a white guy goes up to the plate, he says hello to the pitcher and just waits for the ball. The Dominican guy puts the sign of the cross on the plate, and his hips are so crazy the whole stadium is pregnant, and then he hits a home run, and when he gets back to the plate, he thanks everybody that he's ever met in his entire life. Marcello Hernandez, everybody. NorthJersey.com is doing a poll. They want to know your favorite New Jersey comedian. All right, the possibilities are Jessica Kirson, Michelle Buteau, Mark Maron, Chelsea Handler, and Jon Stewart. Are there not other Jersey comedians? Let me ask the internet. Dimitri Martin grew up in Toms River. Joe Piscopo, of course. And we're leaving out Chris Gethard. He's got an album, Taylor Ham, Egg and Cheese. And Joe Piscopo, of course, has a comedy album titled New Jersey. But they weren't part of the poll. Nope, your choices were Mark Maron, Chelsea Handler, Michelle Buteau, Jessica Kirson, or Jon Stewart. All right, who are you voting for? I will tell you the polling the last time I looked at it. In first place, at 75% of the vote, Jon Stewart. In second place, Chelsea Handler with 20% of the vote. Mark Maron in third with 5% of the vote. Michelle Buteau with 0% of the vote. And Jessica Kirson with 0% of the vote. Sorry, ladies. Here's a headline. Jessica Kirson slams former View co-host Star Jones, calls panelist ex-husband gay slur. This from Entertainment Weekly, who phrased this, they might have well as added, not that there's anything wrong with that, verbatim, quote, actress Jessica Kirson, who is a lesbian, made several appearances on the talk show, including, okay. Jessica Kirson on The Jessica Kirson Show said, I did The View, which was an interesting experience because I felt like the energy there was hard for me. Star Jones was on at the time. It was a long time ago. Star Jones was like a diva. Apparently, there's Jessica Kirson. She's on the Joy's Comedy Corner segment with Joy Behar. And Kirson said, I was like, and please welcome Star Jones. And then got scolded by the production team. As Jessica tells the story, Star's very upset with you because you said Star Jones and not Star Jones Reynolds, and it's not okay. Kirsten said, I read what it said to say on the cards. She came up to me and she literally said, my name is Star Jones Reynolds and I would appreciate you if you called me that. That's my name. And then verbatim, they're doing this again. Kirsten, who is a lesbian, then used a gay slur to describe Jones' ex-husband Al Reynolds, to whom Jones was married from 2004 to 2008. I was like, well, your husband is the F word, not that F word, the other F word. Let's move on. In case you're curious, I'm here on E! News, November 2nd, 2017. The headline, Star Jones' ex-husband Al Reynolds comes out as bisexual. Not that there's anything wrong with that, as they say on Seinfeld. Gary Gulman spoke to WCVB about his time wandering the North Shore Mall. Gulman recalls, my mother worked at a Hallmark store. Remember they used to have Hallmark stores? I was thinking about the death of the mall. And we don't really go to the movies anymore. And there's no more record stores. And bookstores were cool. But there was always a Hallmark store, a whole store that just sold cards. Gulman recalls, my mother worked at a Hallmark store. From 4 o'clock until they closed, I would roam the mall by myself. I feel like what my comedy act is now is me at the mall when I was 8 and 9. In second grade, Gary Gulman wrote a story called The Lonely Tree, a thinly veiled reflection of his own loneliness. He says with a laugh, the tree grew tall from its tears, then it became the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree, and everyone loved it. Yikes. Weird Al revealed that he turned down $1 million to perform at the Riyadh Comedy Festival last year. Weird Al told Trib Live, I wish people would offer me things that I didn't feel bad about accepting. I don't think I've mentioned this anywhere, but I was invited to the Riyadh Comedy Festival, which is something that I obviously did not want to do. They offered me, I'm not going to say how much, but it was 7 figures to do one show, so it's at least $1 million, which is way more than I've been offered to do in my life for a show, but I just couldn't be part of that. Weird Al said, I'm not dissing anybody that took the money, because I'm sure everybody that went there got a lot of money. I'm sure they had their own reasons and justifications for doing it. But I'm doing enough that I don't need to take any amount of money if it makes me feel icky, and that kind of did. Some of the comedians who appeared there included Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., Pete Davidson, Aziz Ansari, Jessica Kirson, who is a lesbian, just following the Entertainment Weekly guidelines here, and Bill Burr, which reminds me, I've been meaning to go to Bill Burr's Facebook. Let's do that now on the fly. This is not in the script. Bill Burr, on his Facebook page, posted some new dates. Doing a couple shows in California this week. He'll be in Las Vegas on the 1st. Let's read the comments. One person's wondering if he's playing Riyadh. Another called him the Prince Harry of comedy. Another said the tour is called Things My Wife Approved. A totally different comedy festival is the Abu Dhabi Comedy Festival. They've announced Mo Amer and Morgan J to headline. Mo Amer will take the stage on Yas Island November 6th. Kind of a spread-out festival running from October to early November. Also announced Russell Peters and Maz Jobrani. The inaugural Abu Dhabi Comedy Week in 2024 was 9 days. It featured Dave Chappelle, the not-so-canceled Aziz Ansari, Chris Tucker, Andrew Schultz, who is America's foremost political commentator, according to the New York Times, or whatever they called him, and Joe Coy one time told a joke about Taylor Swift, but we don't have time for that today. It expanded into the multi-month Abu Dhabi comedy season last year with a lineup including Dave Chappelle, Trevor Noah, Kevin Hart, Michael McIntyre, Gabriel Iglesias, Pete Davidson, and Bill Burr. If you want to head on over to Abu Dhabi, Morgan J, October 11th, Russell Peters, October 25th, Mo Amer, November 6th, Maz Jobrani, November 7th. Blonde Medicine has announced the release of Derek Sheen's 5th full-length hour of comedy. Unrelatable is set for an August 21st release on YouTube, followed by a September audio album. Woohoo! Via Blonde Medicine, Derek Sheen is a cuddly mess of insecurities, a human hug, and a one-of-a-kind storyteller. He has toured with folks like Pat Oswalt, Janine Garofalo, and Brian Posehn. Brian Posehn said, Derek is so funny and smart that it makes me mad. On Unrelatable, Derek Sheen tackles the creeping indignities of aging, chronic social awkwardness, and the strange comfort of feeling out of step with everybody. Looking forward to that one. Jeff Atkuri spoke to Deadline. His special on Netflix is pretty good. Entertaining anyway, if not hilarious. He said 2025 was looking great for he and his wife. They had plans to travel to Hawaii and then 2 months in Australia, a week in Tokyo, a month at home, and 3 months in Europe. That sounds awesome. Except when they were in Hawaii, they found out that his wife had stage 3 breast cancer and needed treatment immediately. Jeff had to turn to his team to get his shows rescheduled so he could be by his wife's side. Turns out the initial diagnosis was incorrect, so she did not need an immediate chemo, but that led the engaged couple to move up their wedding. They had the ceremony in their empty new apartment. Jeff Atkuri's agent officiated. Only their parents were in attendance. Jeff said, it really honestly at the time seemed like, all right, this is temporary. But now I look back and I'm like, that was the best day, dude. Because that was the only sure thing I had in my life at the moment, was loving her without a doubt. Everything else was so chaotic, but that was the sure thing. And Cracked did a fun interview with Myq Kaplan. We'll skim it here. Who was your first hero in comedy? Myq Kaplan said, Paul Reiser. His special 3.5 Blocks from Home came out in around 1991. I saw it when VH1 was replaying it. The next year, Mad About You debuted, and I became a huge fan. Shortly thereafter, his book Couplehood came out, and I devoured it in physical form as well as the audiobook in cassette form. Once I started driving, I drove around listening constantly till the tapes wore out. It's a testament to how great his comedy is that a 13-year-old boy who had never kissed a girl or been on a date could relate to so much art where the main thesis was, I'm a grown man who loves his wife. Proudest moment as a comedian? Skimming here, he said there's been so many. I've gotten to work with and become friends with some comedy heroes like Gary Gulman and Maria Bamford and Emo Phillips. I got to open for Patton Oswalt at Carnegie Hall and Stephen Wright at a non-Carnegie Hall. What excites you about the future of comedy? Skimming here, he said, I love that more and more people are learning about comedy. Not that it's becoming less niche, but that more and more niches are being developed. For example, what folks like Nathan Fielder and Tim Robinson are doing. They're creating new flavors of art that almost transcend comedy. Joe Firestone has been making unique, weird, hilarious comedy projects for years. Chris Fleming keeps Chris Fleminging, and Reggie Watts keeps Reggie Wattsing. He also name-checks Julio Torres, James Acaster, Rory Scovel. People like Maria Bamford and Gary Gulman continue to share from the depths of their humanity in innovative ways. This is a great interview. They asked Myq Kaplan one comedian who every comedy fan should know, and he said, all the ones I mentioned, plus not an exhaustive list. You ready? And I'm going to go quick here because there's so many. He mentioned by name Todd Glass, Laurie Kilmartin, Nick Vatterott, Nikki Glazer, W. Kamau Bell, Aparna Nancherla, Paul F. Tompkins, Jackie Cation, Ramin Nazer, Tig Notaro, Zach Sherwin, Beth Stelling, Josh Gottleman, Ollie Wong, Alice Fraser, Sid Singh. John stops a second to take an in-breath. Laura Davis, Shane Moss, Sophie Hagen, Mike Birbiglia, Abhi Wamba, John Fugelsang, Wendy Liebman, Andy Kindler, Cameron Esposito, Eddie Pepitone. Hey, Mike, they asked for one. Atsuko Atkanska, Ronnie Chang, Christelle Alonso, Ronan Hirschberg, Sidney Washington, Joe List, Mary Faustin, and the ever-so-serious Hari Kondabolu. And then he says, and many more. Again, this list is not exhaustive. I just want to respect your time and space. They only asked for one. And the final question is, what is one trend in comedy you hope will disappear soon? Myq Kaplan said, fascism. And that is your comedy news from Poolside today. Have a great day.